Roman military is the best example of competent and professionalized army management. Throughout centuries of building camps, fighting both barbarian, half-naked soldiers and heavy-armed massive Persian armies, from forests of Germania, swamps of Belgium, to mountains of Armenia and deserts of Persia, Roman military evolved and adjusted to different circumstances that appeared. The evolution of the army, of course, brings with it the modernization of armament, including helmets. In this video, I am going to show you evolution of most popular Roman helmets, from Montefortino through famous Imperial Gallic helmet to the Dorsal helmet used in the late Roman Empire period. Of course, Roman military used wide variety of helmets throughout its history, but in this video I will focus on the most widely used and most standardized ones. 1. Montefortino Helmet. The name of the helmet comes from the Montefortino region in Italy, the place where the first piece of this type was discovered. The Montefortino type helmet was used in Roman army from the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE. These helmets were made of brass or bronze with a convex shape, with a small elongation at the back of the neck. They usually had a plume plug on the tip of the helmet. The Montefortino helmet was derived from the Celtic style. During its using time, it was constantly modified. An example is the Hagenau type helmet, which still has the typical shape of a Montefortino, but the protection of the neck has been significantly expanded. The arch above the eyebrows is reinforced, which allows the helmet to be worn more freely when it is not on the head. The soldiers additionally protected their cheeks by wearing metal plates attached to them. Initially, Roman helmets of this type were heavily decorated, which was due to the fact that the armaments were provided by the citizens themselves while fighting. With the various reforms at the end of the 2nd century BCE, armaments were mass-produced and the helmet's appearance was standardized. 2. Coolas Helmet. This helmet was parallelly used with Montefortino helmet from the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE, maybe even longer. It was in the times of the reign of Augustus when this mass-produced, cheap and simple in design Coolas helmet appeared in as many as 9 modifications from it to eye. It was actually a copy of the Gallic helmet to which the neck, brimstone and cheek pads were added as a typical Roman distinguishing mark. The brabant was in the form of a metal plate forged from one piece, which additionally strengthened the helmet bell from the front, protecting it against cuts from above. Of course, this had a very practical application. A damaged and cracked headband could be easily replaced while the bell remained intact. The cheek pads, movable on hinges, appropriately contoured, protected the face against cuts from the sides. However, they left the eyes, mouth and ears exposed, thus enabling visual and verbal communication. The neck is sufficiently elongated and inclined at the right angle. Although in the first varieties of Coolas, it is completely straight. It protected against attacks on the back of the head and neck, effective protection against both infantry and enemy cavalry. The Coolas helmet has been replaced by the Imperial helmet. 3. Imperial Gallic helmet. Widely used in late 1st century BCE to early 2nd century CE. Probably together with Imperial Italian helmet, most famous and cult helmet of Roman Empire. The helmet had a deep bell with walls, almost vertical at the bottom, brimstone, and above it wavy protrusions, the so-called eyebrows, on the back a large cap with a carrying handle, and above it the so-called folds. The face part was covered by the cheek pads at the front with openings for the eyes, and the mouth at the back for the ears. The number of eyebrows and folds, the angle of the nape, and the profile of the cheeks differed from one type to another. These helmets could be decorated with brown rosettes on the cheeks and forged with narrow bronze stripes on the edges. Some of the helmets used by legionaries had a comb holder. The comb was usually made of a plume or horsehair. Legionnaires with the red color of the comb appear most often in pop culture. Probably, however, this ornament was not only red, but also yellow, purple, or black, and in a combination of different colors. Written sources or sculptures indicate that the combs were worn longitudinally by ordinary legionaries when the centurions mounted them transversely. The practice of centurions wearing combs spread throughout the early empire. Later, such combs were worn only by legionaries and centurions at military parades. 4. Imperial Italian helmet. In the late 1st century BCE, the legions were equipped with another type of helmet, the The so-called Italian Imperial Helmet with its 8 modifications from A to I, initially made of bronze. It referred to the local Samnite and Etruscan traditions, but also had Gallic features. It did not have the so-called eyebrows, may, in some variants, have mounts for putty and plumes made of horsehair. It had movable cheek pads and a large neck. Characteristics for this type of helmet are often appearing decorations in the form of brown appliques, for example houses on the cheek pads, or the so-called edicula on the bell or cartridges, and inscriptions with the name of the helmet owner, affiliation to a specific military unit. In general, the Imperial Italian helmet type is very similar to the Imperial Gallic helmet type. However, it differed in greater simplicity of execution, less decorative character, and was probably produced in Italy. It was in use until the beginning of the 3rd century CE. The earliest specimens come from the Herculaneum, which may suggest that this type of helmet could have been worn by city or praetorian cohorts. 5. Dorsal Helmet. The earliest image of a dorsal helmet is seen on the coins of Constantine I, and it is believed that their first use dates back to 270 to 300 CE. The latest representations of the use of a dorsal helmet can be found on the coins of Constantine III from 409 to 411 CE. In the late 3rd century CE, there was a complete break with the previous types of helmets, which were largely based on the Celtic style. The new Roman armament was based on Sassanid and Sarmatian helmets. The dorsal helmet was made of more than one element. There was a 2-layer or 4-layer one, with a characteristic comb in the middle and small cheek pads hanging on the sides. Many surviving specimens also proved that some helmets had nose protection. A perfect example of a richly decorated helmet is the one found in Goin in modern-day Netherlands, which has a silver-gold plating and was supposed to belong to a rider with equite stable Ciani. A richly decorated dorsal helmet was also found in Novi Sad, modern-day Serbia. This one also has decorative jewels. Of course, there were many more helmets in use in the Roman military machine, but where it is widely common and standardized as these shown in the video. If you want me to make another video about less-known Roman helmets, let me know in the comments. If you are interested in more Roman-related topics, necessarily check the playlist in the description and watch the latest video about woman slaves in ancient Rome. Ending it here. This was History Revamped. To the next video.